You know what's fascinating? Language learning is like building a house from scratch. You start with a foundation of simple greetings and end up constructing entire conversations. Today we're exploring how that process actually works.
Well, that's such an interesting way to look at it. How did you come to think about language learning that way?
So I was listening to this remarkable approach to teaching English, and it really opened my eyes to how methodically we can break down something as complex as language into these perfectly sized building blocks.
That's really intriguing. What kind of building blocks are we talking about?
Well, imagine starting with just hello and good morning. These universal greetings that transcend cultures. From there, you build up to expressing how you're feeling, then counting, telling time. It's like watching a child discover language all over again.
You know what's fascinating about that? The way those simple greetings actually carry different cultural weights in different languages.
Exactly, right. And what really caught my attention was how they structured these lessons to mirror natural human interaction. You start with how are you? And build up to expressing preferences like I like pizza or I drink coffee.
That reminds me of the way children naturally acquire language. They start with concrete objects they can see and touch, before moving to abstract concepts.
Well, here's what's really clever about their approach. They introduced numbers early on, but not just as abstract concepts. They connected them to real world scenarios like telling time or counting objects.
That's such a practical approach. How did they handle more complex concepts?
So they did something really brilliant. They broke down daily activities into these manageable chunks. Instead of overwhelming learners with complex grammar, they started with simple phrases like I wake up at 7 or I go to work at 9.
Well, that's actually quite sophisticated when you think about it. They're teaching time, numbers, and activities all at once, without making it feel overwhelming.
And here's what really struck me. They used this natural progression where each new concept built on the previous ones. By the time they got to food and drinks, learners already had the foundation to say I like or I want.
That's fascinating. It's like they're creating a language web rather than just a linear progression.
Precisely. And what really got me thinking was how they incorporated cultural elements without explicitly teaching them, like the way how are you in English is often just a greeting, not actually asking for a detailed response. And
That's such an important point about language learning. It's not just about the words, but about how they're used in context.
well, speaking of context, they did this amazing thing where they taught the days of the week by connecting them to activities. So it wasn't just memorizing Monday through Sunday, it was understanding how these words fit into your daily life.
That's really clever. It makes the learning immediately applicable to real situations.
And here's another fascinating aspect. They use repetition strategically, but not in a boring way. They'd introduce a concept, practice it in isolation, then immediately incorporate it into natural conversation.
You know what's interesting about that approach? It mirrors how our brains actually form new neural pathways when learning.
Exactly right. And they took it even further by building these little scenarios. Like teaching objects wasn't just listing chair, table, book. It was creating mini stories like I have a book or the book is on the table.
That's really bringing the language to life, making it dynamic rather than static.
Well, here's what I found most impressive. They managed to teach complex concepts without ever using complex language. Everything was explained in simple terms that a beginner could understand.
That must require incredible skill to teach something complex while keeping the language simple.
It really does. And you know what else they did brilliantly? They incorporated natural pauses for practice, giving learners time to actually use what they were learning instead of just passively listening.
That active participation is so crucial for language acquisition, isn't it?
Absolutely right. And they structured these practice sessions in this really clever way where they'd build up from individual words to complete sentences. So by the end, learners could actually have a basic conversation.
That's such a confidence builder for new language learners.
And speaking of confidence, they did this remarkable thing where they celebrated every attempt at speaking. There was no focus on perfect pronunciation or grammar. It was all about communication.
That's so important for keeping learners motivated and engaged.
Well, here's another fascinating aspect. They integrated numbers and time in a way that made practical sense. Instead of just counting, they were teaching how to tell time, how to talk about schedules, how to make plans.
That's really bringing the language into the real world, making it immediately useful.
Exactly. And they did this brilliant thing where they taught food vocabulary alongside likes and dislikes, so learners could immediately express their preferences and make choices in restaurants.
That must be so empowering for new language learners, being able to order their own food right away.
Well, that's just it. Everything was designed to give learners these small wins, these moments of success that keep them motivated to continue learning.
You know, this whole approach really challenges our traditional notions of language education.
It really does, and here's what I think is most revolutionary about it. They treated language learning not as an academic exercise, but as a tool for human connection.
That's such a powerful shift in perspective.
And you know what really brings it all together? The way they ended with this practice conversation that incorporated everything they taught. It showed learners how all these pieces fit together in real communication.
That must be so satisfying for learners, seeing how far they've come in just one lesson.
Well, it really drives home the point that language learning isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Every small step takes you closer to being able to connect with others in meaningful ways.
That's such a beautiful way to look at it. Language as a bridge between people.
And isn't that what it's all about? Whether you're saying hello for the first time or having a complex conversation about your day, it's all about making those human connections.
Well, this has certainly given me a new perspective on language learning.
You know what? I think we've all got a little language learner inside us, just waiting for the right approach to bring it out. It's never too late to start building those bridges.